difficult as the DUP, of course, accuse anyone who doesn't vote for them of splitting the vote, but you've made the case very well. What are your hopes for the Alliance of Reform UK? And would you maybe agree that we're now in a sort of long war against the protocol? And maybe the only long-term hope we do have is that in the next decade or so there is a realignment in the British right, and we could maybe get a British government, and obviously not the next term, but maybe in 10 years, that would be prepared to confront the EU. And we might have the opportunity for Reform UK, those genuine pro-British Tories, and maybe unionist parties like yourself having some influence in that.
I do agree it's going to be a long war on the protocol, and I think that unionism for far too long has been far too insular. I think, you know, we need to reach out to the rest of Great Britain. They are generous to us financially, and then we have a leader of unionism talking about Englishmen coming over to do this and that. And I must say, since Stormont has come back, the DUP has been singing exactly off the Sinn Féin hymn book about more money. Government austerity, we need more, we need more, we need more. Whereas, as unionists, if we believe in being part of a union, then you share the good times and the hard times. And I think it is by building our unionist credentials with others in Great Britain that we strengthen our position. And I think that Reform is a good opportunity. Reform's a party on the up in Great Britain because they're taking on the establishment and in that have a lot of fellow feeling with them. They're taking on the failures of government and confronting them, whether it's immigration or other such matters. They're not prepared to say that, they're not scared to say the hard things. And I think that that is resonating. Now, if their vote rises and unionism is attached, then that is bound to help our position. And I have to say, Ben Habib has been a remarkable contributor to unionism. Ben Habib has done more in the fight against the protocol than many of our elected unionist politicians. Much more. And I am honoured and privileged to have that acquaintance and that connection. So yes, I'm happy that there is a TUV Reform Alliance. I tell you what it should have been. It should have been a TUV DUP Reform Alliance if they had stood firm in the protocol. That's what it should have been. But they chose to go the other way. And so those of us who are left, we stand where we stand, and we ultimately ask the people for a verdict. If the people, as I've said, are content, then they'll not be voting TUV. If they're happy to be on the Dublin Road, there'll be no votes for TUV. If they're not, if they want to dig in, if they want to see our position in the United Kingdom recovered and restored, then they will be voting TUV Reform. And that's the option I want to give them. Any other questions?
Can I just add that
Yeah.
a wee tiny bit,
Sure,
Tim?
sure.
Everything in Northern Ireland's a numbers game. If we were to win every single seat in Northern Ireland that we stand in, an anti-protocol candidate, doesn't matter under which flag or banner, if we won every single seat, we could return 18 MPs, even winning West Belfast and a Never Never Land for it. If we would return 18 MPs, we have the potential in a deal with Reform to return 10, maybe 20, 25, 30, if they continue in their upward spiral. 20, 30 rock solid MPs who would be on the same page as TUV regarding the protocol. And that's a number of MPs that no unionist coalition has returned in my lifetime. And it'd be significant again. Everybody talks about consecutive British governments and how they've mistreated us and how they tend to generally, ultimately at the end of every deal, betray us and do a dirty deal on us. The amount of MPs have the potential to return who are on the right page in the protocol here is really, really, really exciting. and it's an exciting development for Northern Ireland.
Any other questions? Yes?
This is my first time coming to these meetings.
You're very welcome.
Thank you very much. All I hear is unionism, and there is no union within unionism. Every time a party goes against somebody, we start a new party. Every time they do something somebody doesn't like, they launch off and stand as independents. For the first time, Catholics outnumber Protestants in Northern Ireland, and all we are doing is just splitting our vote over and over and over again. And what you have is people like me, and I have no idea who speaks for me. I have no idea who to vote for, because if I like this person, then I'm splitting the vote from the DUP. The tribalism in Northern Ireland isn't between Catholic and Protestants, between Unionists and Unionists. The numbers that we have, when people go out and vote, the DUP stand up and say, we got 90% of the vote. They did, they got 9% of 46% of the Protestant vote. Half of Protestants don't even go to a freaking polling place, because there's nobody that's going to speak for me. My brother was in a political party, in one of the local councils, and he died. And I had a lot of input with the DUP. You talk about honesty and people being honest. I've yet to meet an honest politician. You dress in lovely suits and say all the right things, and the DUP, from my perspective, were 29 faced backstabbers who said what they wanted to put forward their own agenda, and they didn't give a shit one way or the other. So who do I vote for? Who's going to stand and say, yes, we believe in the Constitution, we're going to stay part of the United Kingdom, and we're all going to fight? How can we fight if we're divided? Because they're all standing and, you know, asking for us to go with you. That's just going to splinter everything. Why can there not be a united unionism? We all are one party under one umbrella, representing every facet of the Protestant people, not just people that are seen as being bigoted. You know, world stage, the only people that can be racist, the only people that can be homophobic are straight white Protestants. Every time a unionist stands up and opens their mouth and says, I'm a unionist, they are immediately labelled a bigot.
Yeah.
You know, or if they stand and they're coming off with all that we will never, 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 they look like they're intransigent. They look insectarian just by opening their mouths. So how are we going to bring forward a united union family that fights for the union we want to be part of?
Well, I understand exactly what you're saying, and I've already made a point tonight, and I'm going to repeat it. We did have a unified position on the protocol when we had the Ulster Day Declaration of 2021 of unalterable opposition. Sadly, the DUP, first the Ulster Unions, then the DUP departed from that and gave up on that. So it was they who broke up the existing unity on that.
I get that completely.
But secondly, I was going to say to you, you might have noticed in this week's press, I revealed that after the last council elections, when there was concern about how the unionist vote had been shred, I asked for and had a meeting with Jeffrey Donaldson in my room at Stormont. I put a radical but simple proposition to him that for the Westminster election, which was the next scheduled election, that we should create, for that election and that election only, because it's first past the post election, a single unionist party with combined leadership, where there would be a share out of candidates between the three unionist parties according to strength. So in other words, the DUP would have had the lion's share of them, and that the result would be a single unionist candidate in each constituency. That was my proposal. I took it to a meeting under the chairmanship of the Orange Order, and the DUP shot it down, didn't want it. Gavin Robinson in fact said, I want an Ulster Unionist candidate in East Belfast because he might attract some of the Alliance vote. So, you know, what are we to do? We stood where we all thought we were standing and continued to stand there. Others gave up on that. I proposed a single unionist party for the Westminster election and it was shot down and rejected by the DUP. So what's one meant to do? All the thing one can do.
All I'm saying is that the vast majority of the big so-called unionist parties over here, they're so busy grandstanding and trying to hold their own position that who do we then vote for?
Well, you
As
vote
we
for the person.
Independence, we're splitting this very small vote that we have.
Your vote is your voice. So you vote in any election for the person closest to how you want to say things. And if you want to say loud and clear, I want wholly integrated into the United Kingdom, I don't want a United Ireland, I want rid of a protocol which puts me under foreign laws, then you'll be voting for someone like TUV. If you want to say, no, I think it's time to move towards integrating Ireland, etc., then you'll not. You'll vote for someone else. So you vote, we all vote for someone who will be our voice, reflecting as close as possible what we ourselves think. So you find that person and you vote for them.
That's what I do, but there
Yeah.
was when my brother died, I didn't vote for 15 years because there wasn't one party
Yeah.
that I could trust, and before that I voted DUP.
Well, I can tell you, like, unionist apathy is a big issue.
I voted for DUP the last time there was a vote,
Thanks.
because they aligned with how I felt.
Yeah.
There was
Yeah.
another vote a couple of months later, and I voted DUP for the first time in 20 years, because if I felt that I voted, given my vote to one of the smaller people who didn't have a hope in hell getting in, then I would split the Catholic Protestant vote. So I voted against what I wanted to do, and voted for the DUP just to make sure that a Catholic didn't
Well,
have-
if that was a PR election, you did something unnecessary. Because in a PR election, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 as far as you want to go. Provided you use your transfers, then you can't split the vote. Your vote will be spread according to your numbering amongst all the unionists. So a Westminster election is different. It's first past the post. But in our council elections and our assembly elections, they are PR elections, and no, you shouldn't allow anyone to tell you you can split a vote in a PR election. You can't. If you use your transfers, you maximise the vote and spread it according to your preferences. But you know, like I recognise apathy is a huge problem. I have estates in my constituency, and if we get 35% out, we think we're doing well. You know, it's pathetic. Mind you, the same constituencies or the same estates are probably the areas that keep my constituency office the busiest, but that's the way it goes. I don't know. I don't have a magic answer as to how you inspire people to vote, but I do have a sneaking suspicion that some people will wake it up when it's too late.
Why do we not do what they do in Australia? You have to
Compulsory
vote.
voting. Yeah, it's such an alien concept, I suppose, in that, you know.
You could easily pass a bill for that.
Yeah, but I suppose you do have a right not to vote. Like you have a right to vote, but you probably also have a right not to vote.
You're asking Australia then?
Yeah, I know. That's the system they have. They don't have it in very many places, but they do have it there.
And
I
have you
just-
ever asked the local people what they want? One party, two parties, or whatever?
Sorry.
Have you ever asked the local people, do you want one party, two parties, or whatever? Like the young lassie says.
Yeah, well, I'm sure most people would say they would like one party, but you can only have one party if it's agreed in policy. So take, for example, the issue of Stormont.
Well, why not you three get together?
Well, look, I'm going to say it again. We were together on the declaration. The DUP and the Ulster Unionists split off and reversed their position in that. I proposed to Sir Geoffrey a single party for the Westminster election. They rejected it. What more am I meant to do?
Well, the one thing, every politician works for us. We're number one, not you.
Yeah, and they're your seats.
Yep.
You know, once an election is called, there's no such thing as a Sinn Féin seat or a DUP seat. It's the people's seat.
Yes.
And the people make the choice. You know, you'll be told, oh, this is a DUP seat. No, it's not. Or this is a SDLP seat. No, it's not. This is the people's seat.
That's right.
Once the election's called. And you should freely and readily make your choice.
I've voted TUP for the last 2 times.
Yes.
I was told that my vote was wasted. In my eyes, I didn't waste my vote.
No.
I voted for someone. I will never vote for DUP again. Never ever.
Well,
I was
the
voting
first
for
and most critical
someone
thing
that I
is to
knew
vote.
that would carry out and the same way I think.
Yeah, well, that's what voting's about. It's giving yourself a voice
Yeah,
that accords with what you want.
yeah.
It's not, and if you vote for something you don't believe in, well then you'll get something you don't believe in. If you don't vote at all, you get what somebody else believes in. Right? Any other questions?
Just a wee bit more lighthearted on it. I think Lee Jeffrey was compromised and go back into.
Turn your phones off.
That, I don't think anyone knows the answer to that question. Like, the Sir Geoffrey Donaldson situation is very sad at so many levels, not least if there are victims in this for them. I think we have to properly take the view that it's now for the courts to decide all that. The timings do look suspicious, but we don't know. I'm sure in due course things will emerge. I would know this much, that from the moment such an allegation is made, because of his public status and the national security implications, government would have been informed, I believe. But when the complaint was made, I don't know. I can't say.
Try to seal his own bacon
Well,
over the people of Ulster, like.
yeah, he's in a dark place now.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that.
Dark enough.
And let the courts decide what the justice of it is. It's not for any of us. Any one of us who are charged with anything or innocent or proven guilty.
Yeah.
So, and he's entitled to that as much as the rest of us.
What's the story with this whole New Deal and the immigration situation here?
Well, like,
Is there anything in it to stop it, or is it
Well,
encouraging it? Or could
to understand the whole immigration thing, where it all went off the rails was because of our EU membership. Because once you were in the EU, there was freedom of movement for all workers, and that is why we had such an influx of Eastern Europeans, because EU law gave them the absolute right to come. And then when the United Kingdom left, anyone who was here was entitled to stay. Now the Tories are trying to, the horse is bolted largely, but they're trying to introduce a system which is supposedly merit-based. My own view is very much like the Australian system. You only get coming into a country if you're bringing something that the country hasn't got. If you're bringing a talent that you don't have, if you then, and there's a place for you and a need for you, then you get access. I think that's the proper way to run the immigration system on a merit basis. And that would, most countries it's in a point system. But our problem is the damage is done, largely. And now, under the protocol, we're in a weakened position compared to the rest of GB, because the protocol guarantees that the European Charter of Human Rights will still apply in Northern Ireland, and the European Charter of Human Rights gives asylum seekers and refugees rights that they no longer will have in GB, and we could end up in a situation where we are a haven for refugees because they can't be removed from here because of the protocol.
So-called refugees.
So-called refugees, yeah. So, it's not a pretty picture, and that is very much tied into the protocol as well. And this whole Rwanda bill, and there's legal stuff going on about it. You will see, I believe, that someone could be more easily removed from Great Britain than they ever could be from Northern Ireland, because they have extra protections here that the protocol gave them. And that was about keeping our protections the same as the Republic. That's what that was all about. Which is, the Republic is
Feed into
overrun.
a Belfast point of view just as well. So The Belfast agenda at the minute, I don't know if many of you have heard about it, anybody who knows me through the TV will know about it. The Belfast agenda is the corporate plan for Belfast City Council going forward. And the plan for Belfast City Council is to bring in 66,000 new citizens into the city by the year 2035. So that's 11 years away. 66,000 new people into the city who are going to be brought in through migration. So if you think that your waiting lists are difficult now for housing or for doctors or for dentists or for child school places, in the coming years it's going to be at crisis point. And I think you'll mask over a lot of the cracks, because when you think of areas like the Shankill, which is my bread and butter, it's where I know best, where I live, there's waste ground everywhere. The waste ground will be built on, but the housing situation will actually be worse than what it is today because of the volume of people coming in. So we have challenges in the city as well, because that's the corporate plan, that's what they're intending to do.
Well, that's the Sinn Féin agenda, no doubt. And that's what they've
That's
been
a
pursuing
10%
north and south.
That's a 10% increase
Yeah,
of the Greater Belfast
yeah,
area.
yeah.
It's basically Fermanagh moving to Belfast. But they're not-
That wouldn't be so bad.
It's Beirut, Lebanon.
So it's almost, of the central council area, it's about 20% of the population. If you take that, in Belfast City Council at the minute, there's 60 councillors, okay? In Belfast City Council, there's 17 unionists. That migration is going to be the equivalent of 12 Belfast City councillors.
Yeah. Just make great reveal now.
Jim,
Any other questions?
can
Yes.
I ask, there was leaflets on the stairs as we came in saying that you had no plan. What's your plan?
My plan is to campaign for the reunification of the United Kingdom, while others are demanding the unification of Ireland, and are aiding the unification of Ireland by aiding the growth of an all-Ireland economy. My plan is a British plan, working with Reform to campaign for the reunification of the United Kingdom. And frankly, the more we are integrated into the United Kingdom, the better and stronger our position is. Devolution across the United Kingdom has encouraged separatism and secession. You know, it's the same in Scotland, it's the same here, and let's not kid ourselves. Sinn Féin are not in Stormont to make Northern Ireland work. They're now the very opposite purpose, and therefore by propping it up, the more we aid their process. So, you know, my political ideology is to seek to integrate us fuller and better to the rest of the United Kingdom, because the alternative is the ongoing integration into Ireland.
Jim, do you think deep down most unionist people in Northern Ireland today are just accepting what's happened? This hall, to me, should have been filled here tonight, and every hall that you go to, there should be absolutely bummed the doors.
Some are, but this one isn't, but there you go. Yeah, I agree. There is a lot of concerning apathy, and I think that's because there's a number of things. Like, I think a lot of unionists and loyalists think, well, we've been made to the top of the hill before, and then
Are people second? They're second
Yeah.
after 30 years of what they carry on in the parties.
that's right.
The
And
spread
like,
of them.
people look at the vicious terror for 30 years, and then look at our politicians hand in glove, laughing and cajoling with the very people who are the representatives of those who killed and murderers. And no wonder they're sick of it myself. So I do think we have a massive task to re-energize unionism, and I wish I could do it easier than it seems to be. But one thing's for sure, I'd rather try and fail than never try. Okay, folks, thank you very much. Thanks to Lodge for facilitating us. There are a few